Welcome to John Cain Arena for the major semi-final between the Melbourne Vixens and the West Coast Fever. I'm Bianca Chatfield, and joining me in commentary is Maddie Brown and Shani Norder. Welcome to all of our international viewers who are now joining us as you see the West Coast Fever running out onto court. Maddie, let's take a look at the Woolworths team cards. Are they starting how you thought they were going to start?
Look, to be honest with the Vixens, I thought they'd go to their kind of true and tested formula with that starting seven. Kwenda, Austin, Watson, Maloney, Eddie, Weston and Mannix. Their biggest impact player is obviously Olivia Lewis in the defence end. And then I think Rani Samuson, she can come on in that power five and really do some damage. Fever, they've obviously brought Jess Ansis into that wing defence position. It'll be interesting to see how she goes. Impact for me there is that Stacey Francis-Bayman. She can come on, she can get some ball, hands on ball, she can get those intercepts. So let's see how both teams play with those impacts and how they settle in this first 5 minutes, B.
And we know both coaches, play it very differently. The strategy for West Coast Fever is often to make quite a few changes. They're okay to have their rolling subs. Simone McInnes doesn't make as many changes, does she?
No, and sometimes tonight it's going to be interesting how the momentum shifts and how they flow. If you're down, do you make a change? If you're up, do you make a change? Those critical moments in the match are going to be really interesting to see how both coaches play it out.
And we are just about to get underway. The centre pass is in the hands of the West Coast Fever in Verity Simmons. And Sunday Ariang takes the first centre pass. Teague Neal smothered by Vixen's hands. Glasgow to Ariang. Teague Neal dominant across that wing attack position this season.
The pressure by the Vixens. I mean, you want to start the first 5 minutes really dominant in defence and nice and calm and composed in attack. And Fever played that really well, just nice and patient, get that first settler.
And they do, the Fever, they're on the scoreboard. Weston to co-captain Liz Watson. And current captain of the Australian team going to the Commonwealth Games. No one's concerned about the Commonwealth Games right now. There is too much on the line.
Great tip there by Glasgow. One thing Fever sometimes have struggled with throughout the season is getting deflections but not getting them into games. So that's a great start for them in defence as well.
That lady on your screen, Janelle Fowler, the most dominant shooter in the game. We didn't even touch on her pre-game.
No.
Huge impact she will have, the strength, that hold. Look at her pull that ball in. Maloney. Austin goes long to Lizzie Watson. What a drive from Liz Watson.
Bruce showing her presence early, trying to get those little tips. She gets a lot of deflections. She's had over 100 in the season, but only 14 as we talk about those game possessions as we see on the Harvey Norman replay. That high ball needs to be put a little bit further out into space away from her hands.
Teague Neal, Fowler, unusually out of the circle. Simmons straight to Fowler. And the Vixens, through their pressure, get the turnover.
It's centre contact. Centre.
Verity Simmons
You're holding her.
being summoned to stand out of play.
Little confusion on who actually contacted there. Was it Danielle or was it Verity?
And we should know it is a huge crowd in here at John Cain Arena. It is hard to hear for the girls out there on court. Kwenda snatches it out. Bruce comes flying a little late, but putting a caution out to every Vixens attacker. She is going to be watching.
Interesting, Austin's received 2 centre passes early when we usually see Watson dominate it for the Vixens. Really easy in the attack end for the Fever there. 1-2 passes and straight into Fowler.
Fowler, 4 from 4. As the Vixens cough up the centre pass. Teague Neal to Ariane. Simmons goes high. Fowler steps in, Mannix all over it. Can't disrupt the shot. Let's get across to our sideline reporter, Shani Norder.
We know that the Vixens always love to start steady in attack, but the Fever are just not letting them. They are hot on it as the Vixens get this turnover. So they're really going to have to step up their leads, making sure they're making multiple leads and reoffering, because the Fever are really getting their hands on that first ball.
The Fever would have watched exactly what happened in the last time these two teams played against each other. It was in round 10, it was in Perth. And it was a great start to the Melbourne Vixens.
And it's a final. The first 5 minutes you expect a few mistakes, a few uncharacteristic errors from both teams, but now it's about settling it in, getting those efficient shots close to goal.
Austin comes up short, Kumwenda rebounds strongly. And the Fever, they're away. Quick, the double play answers to Teague Neal, back to Simmons, and Glasgow comes flying through.
You see that double defence of the Vixens doubling back on Fowler.
Answer so strong, Weston, brilliant defensive work.
Shot to win defence. Win defence is out.
Maloney just asked the team to settle down.
Time stopped. Back where you were, Kate. You need a towel, was it?
We hear a lot of teams talk about breaking the quarters into 5 minutes. That first 5 minutes is done. Those nerves should be settled by now. Take a deep breath in, let's settle, and let's just go to our basics, go to what we know works. Back yourselves in.
Austin.
Find him, shot to win a time.
Watson on the edge. High to Kumwenda.
That's a confident feed to let that backspace. You know how strong Bruce is in the air, but to deliver that with confidence early.
Ansys doing a huge amount of work in attack. They have missed her strong leadership out there on court. Glasgow. Double play between the two shooters. They're not gaining any distance.
Step back, goal attack. Goal defence beside her.
And Fowler owns the front space against Mannix. Austin to Eddie. Weston to Watson. Watson looks long. The Vixens trying to generate something, trying to find a lead forward.
Both teams doing a lot of work after that first phase on the centre pass to shut down. Oh, a little fumble there by Watson.
On court. Yes.
To try and make it really difficult to penetrate over that transverse line. Both are using that box formation to try and take up all that space and make the attackers unsure of where to lead.
Teague Neal to Ariane. Anstis. Fever. They're looking long, but they're not looking straight away. They're taking their time.
I mean, the hands over pressure from the Vixens. The second the Fever receive it in attack, it's on, it's up, it's high.
As we talk about that, Teague Neal looks forward. Mannix sitting behind Fowler, allowing her that front position.
As a defender, would you take the front or would you take the back, or it's all about trying to create that confusion?
It's a game of cat and mouse the whole time. And Shani Norder would agree with me. It's just, you've got to go forward, you've got to go back, you've got to create doubt, you've got to hesitate. Just as you can hear the crowd cheering on, Olivia Lewis has come into the game for the Vixens at goalkeeper, Emily Mannix.
Blood rule.
Talking, yeah, she's with the physio at the moment. We'll get Shani Norder to keep an eye on that. Kumwenda, she misses, but she rebounds. And she wants the crowd to get behind the home team. strong drive from Simmons. As you can see, Emily Mannix just getting some treatment on her finger. From the physio, we know Emily Mannix has had a few surgeries on her finger over the last few years. Let's cross down to Shani Norda to get an update on Emily Mannix.
Mannix just currently getting that finger taped up. Unsure if it was that blood rule and or a bit of trouble with that finger that she's had in the past, but a huge effort from Olivia Lewis to be ready on the bench, and you always need to be ready to go. Doesn't matter what time, and Emily Mannix has just sat that down, so it doesn't look like she's going to be coming back on to the court at this current point in time.
Shani, I want to ask you about the Fever defence. You see them flying at balls. Sunday Ariang's flying at balls. Courtney Bruce is flying at balls. Is it too early to be doing that, or is that the right strategy to put the Vixens under pressure?
Well, it's currently working for them. They're one in front, which they haven't been against the Vixens this year. So they're creating this box formation that Mads was talking about earlier. And what that does is puts confusion in the attacker's mind. Where do they put it? However, if the Vixens start scoring a few in a row, that's when you need to get tight one-on-one. So if it's working, stay with it. But when it stops working, and there you go, a turnover. So at the moment, I wouldn't be changing it up.
The pressure that is being created, you can feel it on the sidelines. Simmons to Fowler. She taps it to pick it up. Back out they go. That front position again. Fowler steps in. She doesn't care. The defence is right there in front of her as the Vixens have made a change. Rani Samuson has been injected onto the court. In goal shooter, Michael Mwenda has gone to the bench.
That power five is approaching very quickly. I'm watching that strategy that I talked about with Simone in the pre-game. What's she doing?
As we know, the power five, the Suncorp super shot will be in play. You'll hear the buzzer going as the Fever get another turnover.
Held ball by Austin. She had all options going away, nothing coming forward.
And with the Fever defence flying at balls, you can't afford to put the long ones in the air. Teague-Nield from the top of the circle. You hear the power fives buzzer now. It's in play, but the Fever will settle for one. You see Jo Weston just signalling she wants a HCF tactical timeout. The Vixens have called it. Time to reset. We're going to take a listen into the Melbourne Vixens huddle. Let's hear what Simone McInnes has to say.
Got to make sure off that centre pass that the options are staggered. At the moment, we're sort of we're both going back, so we've got to have one that's offering short, one going for depth, and have those options there and that back up at that line. I think that we can tighten up at the front here. There's a little bit too much, because sometimes when we're looking over our shoulder, the intent isn't on the hand, so tighten up there, right? Ball by ball, guys, we're the back in.
Let's go through. Let's tidy it up in there. Let's turn this first ball over. Let's go into a 4, see if we can create something. We'll rush down,
Yeah, let's go here. Come on, go hard.
Stay strong, composed, control, circle edge. Our game, fight this back. Fix on 3. 1, 2, 3, fix.
Coming out of the Fever huddle, Dan and Ryan telling his players they're doing a great job in defence and they need to stay disciplined. They need to stay in play to be able to get those turnovers. He said great work to Jess Anstis, who's doing a good job on Liz Watson at the moment. What did you hear in the other huddle, Mads?
Well, they obviously talked about being strong, controlled, composed, getting it to circle edge. We can see West Coast Fever have scored 8 out of the last 10 goals. So Vixens really need to make sure when they've got the ball in hand, they're capitalising and keeping that scoreboard ticking over.
The Fever, they're leading by 4. Over 4.5 minutes left in this first quarter. Glasgow to Simmons. She looks up. She goes across. Back to Ariang. Teague-Nield. The decision-making is crucial in attack for the West Coast Fever.
Hands over pressure from the Vixens is great, but they need to get them a little bit further off circle edge to try and elevate that ball in the air so they can start to have a crack and maybe get some gained ball back.
Watson to Austin. Samuson is out of the circle.
This way, down here. Yes. Next
And the
to
Fever
now.
get to reset.
Take a step back, Liz.
can see Courtney Bruce on Kira Austin.
Those defenders standing in the power play zone.
The double defense, Bruce, Ariang. Bruce flies and pulls in the intercept and the rebound. And long to Anstis. The Fever are away. Glasgow to Fowler, straight across to Simmons. This looks like a training drill for the West Coast Fever. They've done this before.
They were all in front position and then just leading on. Defense from the Vixens setting behind. They need to be a bit more active, trying to obviously generate, maybe getting that, as I said, getting that ball lifted high rather than just allowing Fever that front space.
Incredible. The last 10 goals, if you look at that on your screen, only 2 of them to the Melbourne Vixens. Simmons to Glasgow. Here we go. Great pressure from Liv Lewis, forcing the one.
Dan Ryan up and about, and why wouldn't you be? You're looking at that Nissan net points, and we see Fowler, Glasgow, all of the attackers at the top.
The Vixens down by 7 in this first quarter as Watson uncharacteristically drops the ball. There's just Anstis grabbing it off me. We could have thrown that in, Maddie.
Chatfield won. Tap.
Simmons across to Ariang. Teague Neal, ball in hand. Back to Simmons. They look long. Liv Lewis is in front. She was in the perfect position. Here's our Harvey Norman replay. Look at Liv Lewis, exactly what we have seen from the Vixens defender, up against her old club, we must add.
The footwork in that, she was just obviously really deceptive, made them think that it was on.
Samuson for 2. Can't make it, but the Vixens still in attack. Simone McInnes, she's having a laugh.
Looking relatively calm for Simone.
Austin.
Contact goalkeeper.
Ariang, it's a 2-on-1. And another miss to the Vixens.
0 from 3 in that 2-point area for the Vixens. Do they change their strategy, go back to chipping away at those ones to still stay close in this contest?
Great ball and connection from Glasgow to Fowler. They're just ticking away. Glasgow, back to Ariang. Simmons looks up. Austin goes flying. Bodies clashing everywhere. The commitment to that ball. If we look at this Harvey Norman replay, Austin, all eyes for the ball. So is Anstis. They didn't even see each other. Fowler steps in. Huge first quarter from Janelle Fowler.
Huge first quarter from the Fever. Vixens look like they're at least a couple of years behind. Fever just hitting strong. Everyone is on song, doing their role, doing exactly what's required of them.
9 goals the difference. Samuson brings it back to 8. Teague Neal, first with the centre pass. And Weston. First ball pressure on Glasgow. There's 10 seconds to play in the first quarter. Fever, plenty of time for them to score. Simply, easily, for 1. Another one for Janelle Fowler as the Fever extend their lead by 9 goals. What an incredible first quarter that has been from the West Coast Fever. And that lady on screen, Janelle Fowler, 18 from 18, 100% shooting accuracy.
Low scoring from the Vixens, that's unusual for them. So they're going to have to address a few things in attack and try and get some more turnover ball in defence.
Don't go anywhere, we have the second quarter coming up after this.
And welcome back. It is quarter time here at John Cain Arena. Vixens currently down by 9. Simone McInnes has made some changes. Hannah Mundy wing attack. Liz Watson centre. And Maloney is in wing defence. They want to slow that ball down going into that Fever attack end. Simone has drawn her players in and asked them to get hungry for the ball because at the moment, Fever are arguably more hungry. Mads, what did you hear in the other huddle?
Well, Dan Ryan was up and about. He was talking about they'd converted 6 out of 7 of their gained ball. Their work rate was good, but we can lift to another level. Discipline, he said, always have an option in attack and make sure aggressively we're challenging every contest, putting them under the pump. So expect them to continue to do these little 1%ers and keep chipping away at this scoreboard pressure.
That was quarter time, brought to you by Origin Energy. You heard the changes. There's Liz Watson with the centre bib on. Mundy into attack for the Vixens. We've seen this change before. Kumwenda, she's out. To Austin on the baseline. Brilliant connection between the two Melbourne Vixens shooters. They've got some catching up to do. Got some stats for you, Maddie. The Vixens haven't trailed by more than 5 goals at quarter time this season, ever this season.
Nice.
This is the biggest gap they've had to chase down at quarter time.
And with a strong scoring power like Janelle Fowler down there, that is going to be hard to chip away, but they can't look at it as a big chunk. They just need to work it ball by ball, take care of that centre pass.
And on the flip side, West Coast Fever, they've been working on their first quarter efforts. Ariang has been working on flying for the intercepts. Brilliant defensive efforts from Sunday Ariang, our young Aussie diamond heading off to Birmingham for the Commonwealth Games later on in the year.
Goal defence obstruction.
The last time Fever lost a first quarter, it was against the Vixens in round 10. They've been working hard on it, and it's really shown in the first 15 minutes of play. Look at this Harvey Norman replay. Sunday Ariang timed it perfectly. Kira Austin.
Goal attacks trying to get in on the defensive action.
Something that Kira Austin does regularly. Mundy can't get it into the circle. They're struggling, the Vixens, but over the top they go.
And it's important for the Vixens in attack to not kind of cease up a little bit and go internally. You've got to, as we talked about, you've got to respect the defence of the Fever. And yes, they've got some tips, but you've still got to be able to let that ball go. Back your teammates in.
Austin finds her rhythm. It's her fourth goal of the game. Look at this, the Fever keeping possession 57% of the time. They have the ball in their hands, and the Vixens at 43. Janelle Fowler, 21 goals at 100%.
Yes.
Vixens, they're hugging the sideline. They're out wide, but Austin makes a play through the middle.
Great defensive pressure from the Fever. They are forcing those Vixens wide to the sideline so then they can squeeze them in positions and then fly for that ball. Vixens look uncomfortable. They usually do so much through that middle channel. They need to get back to those basics and dominate it.
You don't often see a slow-performing Melbourne Vixens, and when I mean slow, even just the way they're moving the ball is slower than what we're used to seeing. Mundy flies onto the edge, straight to Austin. Much more confident play from the Vixens. And a much more confident shot from Kira Austin. Isn't this interesting? Scores are back within 7. The West Coast Fever have called a HCF tactical timeout. Let's take a listen into the West Coast Fever coach, Dan Ryan.
Close. Really important here. We need a bit more support in attack to make sure we've got more options than one ball, all right? So the job for you two guys, make sure we fill the transverse line, and if we're not filling, we're opening up another option on the other side, all right? So 2 options in that space. Sasha a little bit closer to the action, and whoever's going first phase, someone take the depth. But don't get too separated, all right? You've got to get in and on the ball a bit more. Chip, 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 circle edge, find our targets, all right? If there's opportunity for you to release, just go, all right? Just got to lock in here, all right? Okay, really important. Just adjust now to Maloney, where it's going to have to be something first and then go to get her off your back, all right?
Here we go.
60-second charge.
Coming out of the Vixens, Huddle, Simone McKinnis a lot happier with those defensive angles, being able to come out and drive for the ball and really we're really tight on one-on-one pressure, which then forced that ball out of play. So they need to continue that. But then she doesn't want them to do the cross-court in attack, because that's when Courtney Bruce will come out and get those intercepts. But definitely more happy at the start of this quarter.
The Vixens set a pass through Kate Maloney. Wing defence bib on. The Vixens have made that change. They're sticking with it. It's working for them. Kumwenda in front. Courtney Bruce pleads for some. She wants that ball.
Mundy just is a bit more confident on that feed. And, I mean, obviously, Ansys has done such a good job in shutting down Watson. It's just that two-prong attack. Where's the feed going to come from? Maloney a little bit more hesitant in that centre position, but you can see her getting a bit more into it in defence now, in wing defence.
2-on-1. Vixens defenders on Janelle Fowler, but Fowler still comes up with it. Strong. Here we see Mundy. What can she do? Watson, straight to Kumwenda. Across they go. It's a slow attack, but they find the pass through Austin.
I think that's a really good game strategy from the Vixens, to just slow it down rather than playing on that 1 second where the defenders have started to obviously read it. Change it up, use some balls.
Fowler, an easy one for her. Austin to Mundy. Brilliant pass. Straight back at her. Both incredible players in their own right. Look at the breakdown of the score so far. Huge first quarter from the Fever, but the Vixens leading this quarter by 3.
Where you are, Alice?
Alice Teague-Neal, Kate Maloney, both Victorians, both former teammates. Alice Teague-Neal played with the Melbourne Vixens. Oh, Sunday Ariang.
That cross-court pass.
Contact centre go.
I want to take a look at the Harvey Norman replay of Sunday Ariang. She just waited. She knew exactly where Mundy was going and timed it to perfection. Let's go across to Shani Norda.
A huge play there from the Fever, doing a positional swap. So a really great mix-up to be able to stop the Vixens with Ariang, who is goal defence, who started behind, that was then able to read that play and come out for that intercept. So a very smart move there by the Fever defence end.
Here, have a look at the Harvey Norman replay. Mundy to the top, but Ariang said, I don't think so. I'm going to have a piece of that.
We talk about, the channels of the court going from a sideline to a sideline. So risky, especially against a Fever defence. Vixens need to get back to that short chipping away when they work with possession netball. It's clinical when they do it, but they're stepping away from their true Vixens game plan.
And the Melbourne Vixens have made a change, not in attack, but in defence. Emily Mannix is back in the game at goalkeeper, and Olivia Lewis has gone to the bench.
Offside. In the goal third, yes.
Mundy. Not many options. Austin stuck out of the circle. Back to Mundy. Quick double play.
Austin trying to help out the front, but actually taking away that space for those centre quarters to hit the circle edge. She needs to get in the circle, draw, sweep to the other side to create some space, rather than just hanging in that middle position.
The Vixens lineup so used to Liz Watson being the playmaker at wing attack. Do you feel like that's what they're struggling with now? Who's going to actually make the play?
Well, Mundy, as I said, coming on is giving that little bit of a spark, and she's confident on the feed, taking a bit of that pressure off Watson. She has to play a different role in centre. She's more of a filler. So credit to Fever defence in shutting down their main source of Watson with those feeds.
Take a look at the Nissan net points. Janelle Fowler on 56. She's shot 26 goals already. And Sasha Glasgow, who's had an incredible season in 2022.
Getting physical in that goal circle. Bruce has been quite disciplined. She's the #1 penalised player. She's been very disciplined so far, but you can see starting to get a little bit antsy in that circle.
Teague Neal. Impressive season from Teague Neal in wing attack. We're used to seeing her in goal attack in previous years, but she's really owned the wing attack bib for the West Coast Fever this season.
Contact, you're holding, keeper.
Easy one to
Step forward.
Fowler.
No, we were. Yes.
Looking at those penalties, you see the Vixens just a couple of extra on top of the Fever. Fever been a lot more disciplined in their defence than we usually see.
The Fever, they're out by 9. Just over 6 minutes to play in this second quarter. A quick 1-2, Mundy, Kumwenda. And she steadies to get them back within 8. Anstis quick to urge her team into attack. You can see the Fever really want to move the ball quickly. Weston to Maloney. The Vixens, they're all caught high. They can't get that depth.
No, you can see them in a nice straight line. We don't want the nice straight line. We want to see those angles from the Vixens. Mundy was taking that strong drive to create some depth. Missed goal there, no rebound.
Even the protection on the rebound, the way Courtney Bruce and Sunday Ariang position themselves to hold off the Vixens attackers, allowing them all the space to collect that loose ball.
Vixens getting tips the ball, but it's just not falling their way. Sometimes when you're leading, you've got those that confidence. All the little 50-50s come your way. They're really struggling to get any ball here.
Frustration on the faces of the Vixens players. Shani Norda, what are you seeing over on the sideline?
Well, we chatted at pre-game about nerves, and I think nerves can do one of two things. It can either give you energy, which is what I'm seeing in Fever at the moment as Anstis has her fingers pointing up in the air, or it can actually make you freeze. And I feel like Vixens have frozen a bit. They're fumbling. We've seen a lot of fumbles from Watson tonight, which we just don't usually see. They're running on top of one another, and they're not seeing the space. So, as I said, it can either give you energy, or you can freeze a bit. So Vixen going to have to find a way to crack themselves out of this little bit of a rut to be able to push on.
9 goals the difference. Sorry, 11 goals the difference here at John Cain Arena. We're in the Power 5. The Vixens, they win the ball. The Fever, see how they've set up in defence. It's a sea of green covering as many leads as they can. Bruce helps Austin up off the floor.
Fever really active. For the Vixens attack to trying to penetrate through that Fever defence. I'd love to see them come get on a body, turn, just chip away, then lead forward. They're still trying to outrun them. Use the body, come up to it, work off it.
Kumwenda, Suncorp super shot. 3 points for Kumwenda in a matter of a couple of seconds. They need to see that momentum from the Vixens to get back into this game. But the West Coast Fever have called a HCF tactical timeout. They look very happy with what's going on out there on court. Let's take a listen in to the West Coast Fever and Dan Ryan.
Let's target one of them with the two on one first. So let's Vez, come here. Let Malone, let Watson run around, and it's the 2-on-1 you two. Yeah, all right? So just delay, so we're only allowing Kamwenda once. All right, really important, all right? So work, you're going to play on your own. Play on your own, all right? Back that in, all right? Good stuff.
You were just slow to get over the line, so you guys were in the wall.
More pressure discipline, so let's get to circle edge, and if we get in super shot range, feel it. If not, we tick it over, all right? If they get a 2, we respond with a 1, all right? Good stuff. Just now dig in. Work rate, really good. And when we're together shorter, so much better. Stay strong in there, great work, all right? Okay, hands in, guys. Okay, we've got a 3-minute charge here, so these two guys are flooding. We're doing everything we can to win some ball. When we get ball, discipline. Here we go.
It's such great insight. I love getting into those huddles. I mean, Dan Ryan, he just wanted to consolidate what the plan was for this Power 5. You know, he said in defence, we want to continue to be disciplined, but we want to attack. And in that shooting, if they have a 2, we respond with a run. Let's stay in this. Shans, what did you hear?
So in the Vixens huddle, Simone addressed what we were talking about, just how Vixens are all clustered. She said, I don't mind if you get in, but if you get in, you've got to get out. They're concerned about the Power 5 right now, so they're going to put wipers out in front, which didn't just happen because Verity Simmons got the ball right on the top of the circle, which ideally they will stop on the next Fever centre pass.
Okay, as a defender, Shans, we know what wipers is. Can you explain to everyone what wipers is and what it looks like?
Okay, so it looks like 2 defenders setting up in front of the goal circle. They're not picking up a player, they're picking up the space, and they pick up whichever player comes into that area. So it doesn't have to be your player. Whichever player comes to you, you pick them up and try and keep them out wide.
Let's keep an eye on it and the impact that it might have. Courtney Bruce straight across to Sunda Ariang, a risky pass, but the confidence that they're playing with, they are not worried about it at all. Simmons floats it over. And Fowler, she is absolutely taking over in the West Coast Fever attack. I know that's not surprising, but it is against the Vixens. We haven't seen her have that huge performance against the Vixens recently.
No, the unit of the Vixens defensively have shut her down and reduced her scoring power. But she's already sitting at that 100%. So she's 97%. She's dominating. She's had 32 attempts already. When she scores over 60, Fever win. Courtney Bruce coming out having a fly.
Watson chases it up. She can't. Can she stay in court? She can't. She can't stay in court. Bruce is saying, what is going on?
Crowd not happy about it at all.
What an asset it is having Jess Anstis back on court this season. She was missing for 5 weeks. Came back last week against the Thunderbirds.
We've also seen a change in the Vixens attack. Ronnie Samison coming on to goal attack. Kamwenda staying in that goal shooter position.
Teague Neal straight up to Fowler. Again, Fowler in that front position.
Fever happy to just continue to put those 1 goals on the board.
That's where the umpire is just asking for the courts to be clean. We know there's been bodies hitting the ground.
What Fever are doing well on their centre pass as well is when they get that first phase, they've got an option driving long with depth. So watch them here. They're doing it inside on this centre pass, trying to get 1 over. We get a short little pass. Trying to get down and over that transverse line first. And then looking into a really strong option in Fowler.
And the speed that the Fever are doing it with, it's putting the Vixens defenders out of play. Weston, even though she was in play, she was not in position to attempt to even have a go at the ball to Fowler. Watson to Mundy. Under a minute to go in the second quarter.
In the 2.
The West Coast Fever, they lead by 13. Samison though, Suncorp super shot brings the Vixens back to within 11. It's still a lot. The Fever, it's been an incredible performance from the West Coast Fever. Teague Neal, they go up. Again, it's a 2-on-1 against Fowler, but Fowler doesn't even seem under pressure.
Vixen's working that split circle, but they're just giving a little bit too much space for those feeders to easily put it in towards Fowler.
12 goals, the difference. Kumwenda, she wants two, she fumbles.
Great defence by Jess Anstis out the front. They spoke about it in the last Fever huddle, making sure there's a double on Rani. Does the Fever go long? Why wouldn't you?
The Vixens, do they have enough time? We've got 2 seconds. And the Vixens, they run out of time. The first half has been all the West Coast Fever. And the West Coast Fever win that second quarter by 3. They win the first quarter by 9. They are now leading by 12 goals. Such a performance, such a turnaround from their 2 losses already this season against the Melbourne Vixens. Welcome back to John Cain Arena. We have a huge second half coming up for you against, well, the Melbourne Vixens are up against the West Coast Fever. It's a 12-goal lead to the West Coast Fever at the moment. And let's cross straight down to the Melbourne Vixens coach, Simone McInnes. Simone, thank you for joining us. Obviously, down by 12. Have you made any changes at halftime?
We've switched Hannah and Liz Watson around and got Lizzie back on when you attack closer to that circle edge. But certainly I think one of the changes is just that mindset and our fight out there on court and our ability to be strong onto everything is really important in this third quarter.
Simone, was that the key message? It's about let's go back to our game plan, stop worrying about the Fever, let's just work on ourselves?
Exactly, and just setting ourselves targets and bit by bit breaking this lead down, but as you say, playing our game, sticking together and sticking strong.
We know Janelle Fowler is having a huge impact on the game. Defensively, what have you spoken about with the team?
Look, I think we recognised the pressure out the front wasn't strong enough, and we sort of pride ourselves on that one-on-one work, but we just weren't close enough. We weren't contesting, we weren't putting them under pressure out the front, and it's too hard to expect it to be turned over in the circle. So that ability to close off that space, make them have to hesitate, slow the ball down a bit, so give the defenders a chance to have a go at ball.
And Simone, usually the Vixens are very clinical with the ball in hand. There's been some, uncharacteristic turnover ball through drop balls. How are they going to bring it back to feel confident in letting that ball go?
Look, that's the thing we did speak about. Those little basic errors, the drop balls, the fumbles. It's being strong onto the ball, but we're being prepared to work the ball short and sharp. We've got to keep letting it go. We've got to keep with the challenge. We've got to grow with that challenge. So I'm looking forward to this third quarter and having a good crack at it.
And so are we. Thank you so much for joining us, Simone. We really do appreciate it. Incredible insights that we have got from the coaches. They've been so accessible in this game today. There's Sunday Ariang and Kira Austin. Always a matchup to keep an eye on. And Maddie, 26 goals is the Vixens' lowest halftime score this season. They haven't had to fight back from this.
It's a huge defensive effort by the Fever. They definitely had done their homework. They knew where they had leaked goals previously when they came up against the Vixens, and they've shut down those sources.
Fever, they're away. Can they continue on this huge first half? Simmons through Anstis to Ariang. The youngster is not worried one little bit playing finals. Let's go across to the sideline. Shani Norda, what was Dan Ryan saying?
Dan just said at halftime that he was really impressed with his team's ability to stick to their game plan. They're expecting the Vixens to come back in this second half. And so he said, it's really going to show their character, if they can stick to the game plan and how they weather the storm. So, look, I don't know if they'll be pulling out umbrellas or not, but they are expecting that to come back and they're wanting to step up that intensity.
Shani Norda bringing all the humour and the husky voice. Teague Neild, one-on-one, Mannix and Fowler. Fowler comes up short, but not surprising with the rebound in hand.
It's hard for Vixens to now generate that pressure and even hands over to try and restrict the Fever feeding it in. They've got confidence. They know that they've got a really strong target and they're just letting it go.
And let's not forget the winner of this game straight through to the grand final in Perth at RAC Arena. The loser, though, second chance, they will take on the winner of tomorrow's minor semi-final, the Giants and the Magpies. Fowler, back to Simmons. Fever having it all their own way in attack. Dan Ryan, look at him in the coach's box. He does not sit down all game.
Always vocal, always up and about.
Do you like that from a coach?
He's the vibe indicator for them. When he's up and about, they're up and about. You can see this box defence by the Fever shutting down that space. Vixens not knowing where to go, where to penetrate through it.
Mundy. Beautiful connection with Kumwenda. I promised Hannah Mundy we wouldn't say it very often, but she is the daughter of a former Australian great, a great mid-quarter teammate of Simone McInnes and Shelley O'Donnell. Glasgow to Fowler.
Verity Simmons, I've been impressed with her today. I mean, that contest in the centre, she's had multiple, obviously, opponents, and she's continuing just to stay focused in what she needs to do, delivering for the Fever attack end.
And in attack, Alice Teague near. Oh, Courtney Bruce. The deflection to the game. We talked about that. The Fever have struggled with that in the past. And Courtney Bruce puts the Fever into attack. Anstis to Ariang, to Simmons. Olivia Lewis from the Melbourne Vixens is now on at goalkeeper. Can she have an impact? At the moment, the Fever are having it all their own way. Fowler, we know, so reliable under the post. Simmons and Fowler, that connection also so reliable.
And it's been missing in the two previous encounters with these two teams coming up against each other. But Simmons just letting it go so confidently.
15 goals, the difference.
You see the Vixens' only way in towards goal is going laterally. You want to go down the court. They actually haven't got those drives. Not even like someone going there to try and get the defence. A dummy lead. They're just not going there at all.
Teague Neal, she is owning the stat sheet. Glasgow. Can you believe? Glasgow, it's her second shot. It's her third shot, including a Suncorp super shot. Playing a huge feeding role. Let's get across to Shani Norda. What are you noticing down there?
Mads, you just talked about how they have to keep going wide, but with a box, you need to drive through the middle of it. If you're not driving up through the middle and taking a defender with you, then you're not opening it up. So at the moment, the Vixens attackers are just standing stagnant. Whilst they just got that goal, then they need to be punching through that box, dragging defenders and having repeat leads. But you know, at the same time, down the other end, they need a big defensive effort to stop Fowler.
Shani, if you were to make any changes for the Melbourne Vixens, what would you do?
I would put Jo Weston into goalkeeper to see if she can have a bit more of an impact on Fowler. But once again, the pressure out front isn't enough. They need to be turning it over in the goal third. So it's that first ball effort, hands over every ball. That, yeah, I'd be putting Jo Weston back and maybe Olivia Lewis out into goal defence.
Errors are plenty for the Vixens in attack. The fumbles, we haven't seen a lot of it this season, but there's plenty out there in today's game.
Kumwenda usually shooting about 40 goals for them. She's only had 17 goals to her name right now. A huge defensive effort from the Fever to shut her down.
All season, Kumwenda averaging 38.6 goals a game at 90%. So she is well off that. Fowler, 57.4 games at 97%. And it's the HCF tactical timeout. No surprises, the Melbourne Vixens are trying to halt momentum.
If someone throws
Let's
the
take
ball,
a listen.
we whip it in, we drive hard. Get that confidence, get that belief. Come on.
Okay, take back into the middle. Keddy coming on in twin defence. There was, you know what? There was better movement and ball movement in that attacking. I want us to start back allowing ourselves to have a crack at that ball down there. The pressure was tighter, but let's go and have a go at the ball. Off the body a bit, Liv. Off the body and keep repositioning down there.
This isn't going to happen. We've got to make it happen, and it takes 100% from every single one of us. We fight till the very end of this game, all right? Rip the ball in, contest hard, and we do it together. Let's go. Let's go. Vix on 3. 1, 2, 3, Vix. Let's go.
The Fever are extremely happy with what they're doing out there. At the moment, they still want to stay in play. So Damline's not saying anything new, but their vibe is pumping. They're confident. They're chatting to each other. Their shoulders are back, and it's just more of the same for them. It's staying in play, choosing the right moments to strike, and then making sure they're getting onto circle edge in attack and doing those same things over and over, which they're doing really well.
Anstis to Simmons. Teague just steps across, finds Fowler. They go back out to Glasgow just to reposition.
We also see Kate Eddy enter the game again. She sat on the sideline. Can she inject herself in, start to get some little tips, get some extra game ball here for the Vixens to even remotely stay close in this contest?
The last 3 goals from the West Coast Fever. And the Vixens, they revert to their starting lineup.
That is contact.
Eddy to Austin. And just a really transparent pass. Courtney Bruce read that 10 minutes ago, didn't she?
As I said, they're playing on at the same pace the entire time. They're not using any balks. They're telegraphing every single pass. And Vixens are playing like they've got everything to lose. You've still got a second chance next week. Come out with some fight, some grunt, and really be hungry to get back into this contest.
The West Coast Fever, they have been dominant. The first quarter, they started it off strongly, a 9-goal lead over the Vixens, and they've continued that on all game. If we have a look at the Nissan net points, Janelle Fowler, 85.5. Glasgow at 63, Teague Neal at 54, and Courtney Bruce, who always is dominant in the Nissan net points, is at 54. It's all green. Maloney, what can the Vixens do? Can they start to peg back this lead from the hugely dominant Fever? Austin to Watson, up to Kumwenda. Bruce in position, can't get up to it. How much does the home crowd play to your advantage, Maddie?
Well, they need to live. They're very quiet.
That often happens, doesn't it, when the home team start losing?
But the Vixens really need them right now. They need them to start getting vocal. They need to have some chants. Create some energy, some momentum here for them to try and lift up.
Maloney. Bruce flies through the air again, read it brilliantly.
That is contact, Santos.
Teague Neal leading the feed. She's got 27 to her name, leading the centre pass receives. And of course, Fowler absolutely dominating in the shooting statistics. She's sitting at 47 from 49. For 48. The Vixens need to have a super shot strategy coming into this next Power 5. There's just over 5 minutes to play.
We just see Rani Samuson enter the game. They have to have a crack. It's the only way that they can bring this deficit back.
Fowler extends the Fever's lead. Watson to Austin. She looks in, finds Maloney. Samuson, she's young. She doesn't have the same experience, but she certainly has a lot of confidence.
We've talked about her being a superstar. Now is the time to show it on the big stage in a major semi-final to get a bit of grunt about this Vixens team and start to lift those players around her.
Teague Neal directing play. A triple play back to Glasgow. They find Fowler. So so reliable. You hear the siren, the power 5 is now in play. What strategies will the Vixens come up with?
Anytime you get it in that power play zone, you have to shoot it.
50 from 52 for Janelle Fowler. And only 2 goals. Now that shot from Ronnie Sampson does not count.
Offside call.
Costly error. A massive error for the Vixens. The Fever, they're going to punish them. Anstis to Simmons. They go high, they go long. The Vixens, they finally get a win. And they're back into attack. Watson drives long. Samuson to Watson. Back to Austin. It's taking lots of passes to get it there. But they can't make it count on the scoreboard. Across court to Anstis. Teague Neild. Starts to make the momentum. Simmons. She'll look across. She'll look up. And it's just a slow and steady pace from the West Coast Fever.
It doesn't have to look pretty. Dan Ryan even said it. We just continue to chip away. We work the short ball. We just continue to let the ball move. He said, I don't care if we go back, forward, side. Just keep the ball moving. It'll build our confidence. And that they have played with the entire game from the first whistle.
20 goals the difference here at John Cain Arena for this major semi-final. Fowler, she's annoyed at herself. She wanted the backup, she didn't get it. They're holding themselves accountable, the West Coast Fever. Even though they're out by 20, they expect excellence in what they're doing.
Contact, goal attack.
And for the Vixens, they are in the quicksand. And what I mean by the quicksand is when things go wrong, you just continue to go down, and you get in deeper and deeper, and things like this that wouldn't usually go wrong.
That's a really smart play on that Harvey Norman replay from Courtney Bruce. She knew where Kira Austin was going to go, and she wasn't running in to contact her. She was just running into the spot she knew Austin wanted to land in. And that's what great defenders can do. They know where they're going to go. They get there first, and Austin then is the one that run up the back of Courtney Bruce.
For the Vixens, though, as I mentioned, in the quicksand, the only way to get out is to work together collectively. They're playing very isolated, quite individually at the moment. They need to start connecting. Get around, start to lift, give the little high fives. Stop worrying about individually what do I need to do. Work with someone to get yourself back into the game, and hopefully that'll help them get into the game as well.
We know the grand final is in Perth, regardless what happens in tonight's game. But the West Coast Fever are showing that they want it and they want to earn it.
Keep goal defense, you're holding her, it's in the 2. There, yep.
Samuson, Suncorp, super shot. That's one for Ronnie Samuson. And they need a whole lot more.
You're coming in too early.
Teague Neild to Fowler. Fowler knocks that one down. 20 goals the difference. Just over a minute to play in this third quarter. Ariang again interrupting play, stopping the momentum of the Vixens in attack. Stacey Marinkovic, the Australian Diamonds coach, former West Coast Fever coach, will be very happy with that combination. She'll also be very happy watching Ronnie Samuson.
Future Diamonds.
Future Diamonds, Suncorp super shot. Giving a bit of life to the Vixens. Can they win it off the back of Ronnie Samuson and Olivia Lewis? 18 goals the difference. The Vixens, they need more. Weston goes long to Eddie. Short and sharp to Watson. Up the middle. Samuson is out. She'll want it back. She gets it back, and here she goes again.
Have they got time? It's their centre pass again. Vixens need to score.
3 Suncorp super shots in a row for Ronnie Samuson. Kira Austin. 404 Samuelson. What brilliant play from the Vixens youngster. And already we see the scoreline back within 14. The Fever go long. And there is the three-quarter time buzzer. Incredible performance from the Vixens to try and bring back that lead.
That's what she's in their team for. That's what she needs to do. She'd missed a few earlier ones in the game, but hopefully that builds her confidence, and hopefully the Vixens start to lift from here.
As three-quarter time here at John Cain Arena, and the Vixens have a 14-point deficit that they need to peg back. Simone McInnes has asked their centre court to work hard but to stay in play. Olivia Lewis, the goalkeeper, to keep moving, have a fly those intercepts, guys. They're going to need some intercepts and turnovers to get the ball down court and catch up to Fever. Mads, what did you hear in the Fever huddle?
Well, Shani, you need to get out there for the Vixens. You are up and about. But the Fever, Dan Ryan said, let's not go passive. Let's stay aggressive in our game plan. Stick to what we've been doing, but let's not go insular. Let's continue to attack.
The Vixens, they're in attack. Rani Samuelson is still on the court. Kumwenda is on the bench. No surprises there with Samuelson's performance right in the end of that quarter. Austin gets a second chance. It's those ones that we haven't seen her miss a lot this year. But today she has it. Ariane, she gets that. She struggles with it, but she manages to keep it in court.
We spoke about that from the top. You know, Fever are great at getting deflections, but not in converting it to gain ball for their team. They have been on top of that today. That's 10 gains for their team.
Teague Neal splits the middle of the court. Across to Anstis. Olivia Lewis, can she get up? Mads, interesting to note, Sasha Glasgow has got 2 goals to her name, 1 super shot and one goal. Why are the Vixens not putting more pressure on Janelle Fowler and letting Glasgow go? She's not as threatening as what we've seen all season.
No, well, I guess they tried to sag back. They've tried to split circle. They're thinking, let's put more hands over pressure. I mean, Glasgow's got 19 goal assists to her name. They want to try and stop the ball getting in there, but she's not a threat out the front. You need to double back.
Glasgow. Straight to Fowler. Doesn't even look to put that shot up. And she doesn't need to. The Fever have been absolutely owning the Vixens defenders as the Fever continue on their winning ways. They lead by 16 goals. Watson to Maloney, back to Watson. They find Austin all on her own at the post.
Liz Watson, their usual source of feeds in attack. She's been shut down today. She's only had 17 goal assists. She's usually up over that 35 and they win. So they've nullified her. We see Rani Samuelson take another long shot, just getting her eye in before that power 5 comes. But they've done a lot of work shutting her down, even on the centre pass.
One stat that we know the West Coast Fever are dominant in, and that is their turnovers. If they can have less than 20 turnovers in a game, they will win the game, and they are one of the best teams to keep their turnovers down. The Vixens are generally very good. They're the second best team with 22 turnovers, and they're already sitting at 20. Glasgow to Fowler. Liv Lewis just flips across onto the court. She picks herself up, but she's going to need to get some ball. Austin straight to Sunday Ariane. Perfect positioning. The athleticism from the West Coast Fever goal defence is brilliant to watch. And no surprises that the Fever lead the intercepts 8-5.
Both teams not known for their last quarter finishes. This is going to have to be one out of the box for Vixens. Simmons gets a tip. Nearly goes through the hands of Austin.
In teams, Mads, we talk about the 1%ers. It's such a cliche, isn't it? But it's this kind of effort that you see from your teammates that spurs your team on. It's the pickup stat that is so important.
It's the hustle onto a loose ball. Just like that, we see Jess Anstis get the little tip, chase it up. Joe Weston went offside, and Courtney Bruce decided to do a little bit of umpiring at the same time.
We go now. Yes. Right, obstruction goalkeeper.
Janelle Fowler.
Obstruction goal defense taken.
One shot for her, but let's take a look at Vanessa net points because she's hit triple figures now, 101. And the Nissa net points leaderboard is all West Coast Fever. And the Fever extend their lead by 16 goals. Over 10 minutes to play. We know when the super shot can come into play, anything can change.
But it's about winning this first 10 minutes, getting a good lead and not putting that pressure on yourself to have to score the two. It's all on the Vixens now, the pressure to have to get back into this game. Fever just need to take care of their centre pass.
And they are doing that through Teague Neild, through Verity Simmons. If we have a look at Courtney Bruce, she's cramping. She's really struggling behind play down in, you can see her just in the right-hand corner of your screen. She's
asking for the pickle juice. Give it to me.
Where's Maddie Prowse pickle juice? We always see her having. We'll just keep an eye on Bruce. It has been an incredible performance from her. No wonder she's cramping. Those legs have been jumping. Samuelson comes up short, and the Fever are back into attack. Rudy Ellis is behind play, warming up the backup West Coast Fever defender. Teague Neild, double plays with Glasgow. Back to Glasgow. There's Rudy Ellis on your screen. Fowler steps in. Not a lot of pressure on the Fever in attack at the moment. Teague Neild to Simmons. Up they go to Fowler. Simmons goes left, goes right, finds the edge of the circle.
Vixens.
And the Fever extend their lead. They're up by 17 goals. I don't think any of us thought this was going to happen in the major semi-final.
Contact.
Absolutely not. The two top teams for the entire season. No one were within cooey of them. Vixens dominated. Do you think there was a bit of complacency? They talked about respecting the Fever, but we all thought they had that mental, psychological advantage over the Fever.
I wonder too if just the mental exhaustion has got to the Vixens as well. You think about, they've been thinking about this game, they've been thinking about what happens in the grand final before they even get there. It doesn't help that we all talk about it all the time either. The Fever extend their lead by 18, and it's just been an incredible performance. The Vixens haven't won a quarter yet. The closest they got was in that third quarter. They got within 2. And, Ariang all over Samuelson.
She's been impressive today. We spoke about her as our Telstra player to watch, and she has been so good. She's been getting those tips. She's been moving around. She's had multiple opponents to have to work with and continually is getting her hand on the ball.
What she does well is that tight one-on-one defence, but still come out and fly. She doesn't have to be floating in a zone to attempt an intercept. She can stick tight on the body. She's fast. She's so agile and so athletic that she can pounce off the body any time to come out for ball. And that's exactly what you want to see in your goal defence. Cross court, the Vixens go. Austin, not confident to go to post. Samuelson, though, she'll take control. For 1.
Need to make it count. She worked obviously in for that 1 point. I was surprised that she might not have had a 2-point shot, but they just need to continue to tick it over. When the time comes, I expected it. Once she's in that zone, she has to go for it.
Simmons to Ariane. The Fever very, very happy to just keep possession, to work it around. Western out of play. It's a 2-on-1. Glasgow. Her third shot for the game. And it is a HCF tactical timeout. The West Coast Fever have called it. We quite often see this as we get into the Power 5. Let's take a listen into Dan Ryan and his team.
There's the LJ attackers. Al. This is just a great opportunity for us to demonstrate time and tempo, all right? So really control how we're crafting out our goal in the next 5 minutes, all right? Just scoreboard pressure, but discipline to get to circle edge. And if you find yourself in your range, back yourself in, right? If not, it's Jane, it's 1 point, and we're just ticking it over.
Get it potentially, like even with the refeed.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, just make your choice on it, all right? Really important.
Guys, well done.
Okay, everyone in. Okay, we know exactly defensively what we're not allowing. No back-to-back 2-pointers for these guys, so let's squeeze middle, sit high, and in attack, control time and tempo. Let's own it. Own it. Let's go.
Let's go.
3 on 3, 1, 2, 3.
In the Vixens camp, we see Emma Maddox coming back on into that goalkeeper. Not the first time we've seen that move tonight, but what I want to see from the Vixens is some fight. I want to see them dig in for this last 5 minutes and really put up some fight, because they've still got another game to go no matter what happens next week, and be able to just stick together and show each other what they're made of.
Interesting to hear Dan Ryan talking to Sasha Glasgow. You know, she's got to be the one that makes the decision. We've been talking about her limited number of shots, but she's got to be the one that makes the decision. And that's impressive for a youngster like Sasha Glasgow. I mean, she's not young in her experience, but the way that she's been able to play the game, and she's calling the shots.
That's the confidence he has in his players. We've worked through these scenarios at training. Time to back yourself in and make that call now.
Dan Ryan said that at the very start of the season. It's not about Courtney Bruce, it's not about Janelle Fowler, it's about everyone with a position on the court playing their role. Power 5 is in play. Can the Vixens make a dent in this huge lead by the West Coast Fever? They're up by 18. So far, they're heading into the grand final, but what can the Vixens do?
Well, there's a start. Rani Sampson, her first super shot in this last 5 minutes of the game. She's going to have a hot hand.
We'll keep an eye on that hot hand. Anstis to Simmons. Ariang takes the front cut. The Fever will be very happy with this slower pace. The Vixens trying to move it on. Back to Glasgow, they reset.
See Joe Weston sitting back in that circle now. Trying to fly, but it is about that applied pressure out the front, and it's hard to generate any type of gain when you're out of play.
Mannix pleading with the umpire. It was in her hands. Alice Teague-Neald, she's running off the court. I think it's a cramp from Teague-Neald as well. Cramps all over the court for the West Coast Fever. Emma Kosh enters the game at wing attack. The Vixens through Austin. Now to Samuson. Brilliant Suncorp super shot for Rani Samuson. She's shot more super shots at 70%, 7 out of 10 than anyone else on the court. The Fever, they lead by 15. Samuson, again, can she do it? Austin with the rebound. They'll be looking for another one. Watson, back to Austin.
as a defender, would you not be sitting in the front spot to try and have to force that ball over? Oh!
But that's intimidation, that's a caution.
That Suncorp super shot counts as an intimidation call against Courtney Bruce.
How do Fever respond now?
They lead by 13. There's 2.5 minutes to play in this final quarter of the major semi-final. Austin for 2. She nails it.
Now we hear the crowd coming back into it.
11 goals the difference here at John Cain Arena. Fever in attack through Kosh. You can feel the energy and the momentum changing.
They still need to attack, be aggressive.
Kosh looks up, looks over, finds Fowler. Back out to Simmons. Glasgow wants it for 2. Settles for 1. And the West Coast Fever lead by 12. The Vixens through Maloney.
They have to
Watson
go.
to Samuson. She dishes it back out. The Vixens goal is all in the one position. They break it open through Samuson. Oh, and she nails another Suncorp super shot. Brilliant play by the Vixens youngster.
Less than 90 seconds to play though. Can they do it? I think they're going to run out of time.
10 goals the difference. The Vixens haven't been this close to the Fever in a long time. And the Fever will be very happy to slow this game down. Glasgow, she's out of the circle. Anstis to Simmons, back to Glasgow. They're all just hovering in that middle channel.
And you hear Simone McInnes saying, have a go, have a go. We ain't going to get balls, we're just sitting and waiting.
Glasgow, back out she goes. It's a 2-on-1 against Fowler in the circle. So Glasgow's doing everything she possibly can to hang out of there.
Smart play, just work the clock down.
And Fowler settles for 1. 11-goal lead. Under 30 seconds to play now for the Vixens to try and get another super shot. But there's the girl that can do it. Rani Samuson taking a bow. That is a brilliant performance with her Suncorp super shots. She scored 10 of them, but it's not enough. The Fever have owned the day. Anstis, back to Bruce. We're in back play. And you hear the siren. Dan Ryan throws his fists above his head. What an incredible performance in this major semi-final. The West Coast Fever have won their way into the grand final in 2022. Last year they missed out, they lost the preliminary final. This year they are straight into the grand final and a home grand final for the West Coast Fever. 9-goal win in the end, and the Vixens, they'd be very disappointed with that performance, but they live to fight another day.